Hello and welcome to the City of Sydney's Reboot webinar series. My name is Kate Pearden and I'm back again in 2026 to host this special series. Now, before we begin our session today, I'd like to acknowledge and pay respect to the traditional owners of the land on which each of us meet. As we share knowledge and learnings today, may we pay respect to the knowledge embedded forever within the Aboriginal custodianship of country. Now, the Reboot webinar series is focused on practical, actionable insights to help businesses thrive through three key phases of business: run, grow, and adapt. Reboot was originally developed to support local businesses in the aftermath of the 2020 COVID-19 lockdown. And I know some people today have been here the whole journey and some people are new. Welcome to everyone. Because we're now in our sixth iteration, so Reboot 2026. We've changed the format a little bit. This time it is 10 consecutive 1-hour webinars over lunch. So this time, this is our third session. We've got 10. So if you love it today, make sure you sign up for each one of the next 7. So each of our webinars has a guest speaker. You can see the wonderful Ben already joined us to present today, and they'll talk about case studies and tips you can apply immediately to help you and your business thrive. So it's all about things you can take away straight away. This Reboot series proudly brought to you by the City of Sydney, and a quick acknowledgement to Service New South Wales Business Bureau, a valued long-time supporter of the Reboot program. And people that are joining for the first time, it might have been because you saw in their email that went out this week or last week. Now, let me tell you what you can expect over this next hour. Our guest expert, Ben, who's the Director of Search Rescue, is going to first share a presentation for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then followed by 2 case studies of how businesses like yours have applied this knowledge. At the end, we'll have 15 minutes of questions. Now, there is the chat box just for comments during the session. As I said, we have about 700 who have signed up, so we're not going to respond to all the questions in there. If you do have Q&A that you would like Ben to answer at the end, there is a special Q&A icon at the bottom. That's where you put your questions, and that's where I'll be going to answer them at the end of the session. You can pop those questions anytime during the session, and I'll do my best to join them together and answer as many as we can. Okay, something everyone always asks, can we get the recording? And Sally, you've just beaten to me on my notes. There will be a recording sent to your registered email on Friday, but you won't have a copy of the slides. So what you can do is take a photo or take a screenshot of the things that you're interested in, or when you get the recording, you can do the same thing then. But what I'd recommend, because no one goes back and watches it, I know what it's like, I'm a business owner, take a photo or a screenshot of the things that you love in Ben's presentation so you don't lose it. All right, let's get into our wonderful guest speaker for today, Ben Guthridge. He is the Director of Search Rescue. They're a Sydney-based digital marketing agency known for delivering results with trust and transparency. And I tell you what, with businesses, with AI, there's a lot of confusion, and it's so refreshing to see someone that leads with this idea of trust and transparency. Ben has over a decade of experience across SEO, Google Ads, Meta Ads, and e-commerce growth. I'm sure he knew the term AI or was working in AI before I even realized what it was. And he leads a high-performance local team focused on building campaigns that drive real business outcomes. And this is an interesting bit. He does it without long contracts, unnecessary fluff, or meaningless reporting. How refreshing. Something that Ben is passionate about is helping businesses scale through smart strategy, accurate tracking, and ongoing optimization, which is something we're going to hear a bit about today, how we can use AI in that. He really takes a hands-on approach and treats every client's business like his own, and you'll hear that through his 2 case studies today. So such a special session today, from SEO to AEO, optimizing for AI-driven search. And that's acronyms to start with. When Ben and I did our practice, I was like, and what does that mean? And what does AEO mean? So I'll be asking all the questions that if you're new to this, like me, and you're a bit uncomfortable to ask, hopefully I'll ask them all for you. But just pop it in the chat if there's a term that's used that you don't know, and I'll make sure that we cover it. So I'm the newbie. I know we're going to have some people that love this topic and are right into it, and some people that are really at the beginning. Ben is the guru and is going to teach us all about it. Before I pass to you, one last thing, the hand raise function, because we've got over 700 people signed up for this, we can't respond to raised hands. So pop your Q&A in the chat, or you can, pop your questions in the Q&A, not the chat. All right, enough from me. Ben, it's over to you. Teach us all about what is SEO, what is AEO, and how can we make our businesses better?
Thank you very much, Kate, for the lovely introduction. Yeah, today we're going to be talking about this big change we're seeing from search engines, predominantly Google, into optimizing your website presence for artificial intelligence. I'm going to be talking a lot today about LLMs, the large language models, which is the likes of ChatGPT. It's Google's AI overview, and there are Gemini, it's Grok, it's Claude, it's all these weird and wonderful ways people are now searching. Um, it's very pervasive in everyday life because it's very, very useful. So from a business perspective, everyone needs to reflect on how they're set up right now and start planning to fully take advantage of the opportunity to be found in these large language models, in these AIs. There's a little bit of jargon. There's a lot of acronyms, AEO, AIO, GEO, which we'll get to in a moment. But essentially today, what I'm trying to get across is some pointers, which is going to help you guys get found better in these AIs, so that you guys can continue to get a lot of business out of the internet, as the slight change from Google search into AI takes place. I think, Kate, we've got a poll to start with. Is that correct?
Let's kick it off. So let's have a look. Are you currently using AI to help your business? We've got yes, not yet, but I want to start, or no, not interested. We've got 4 polls today, so we're going to be quick. You've got 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I love it. Immediately things are going. So these polls are popping up on your screen. If it's not popping up for you and you're wondering what is everyone else seeing, you might not have the latest update of Zoom. That's okay. You're not going to miss out. I'm going to talk through the results. And if you're watching the recording, you can't see these pop-up quizzes. So that's why I'm explaining the results too. So for this poll, are you using AI? 76% said yes, 24% said not yet, but I want to start, and 1% said no, not interested. I'll just share those results so you can see them on the screen as well. So we're a lot of people are here for it.
That's great. And that's the right audience, the people who are wanting to embrace this and not ignore this. So we've got the right people in the room.
Great. Let's have a look at our next poll then.
Hmm,
So pop on the next slide for me
there we
there.
go.
Let's have a look. So Ben knows what we're looking at. How do you think AI can help your business right now? Oh, so I popped up another poll. Pop your votes in here. So we've got create content, save and repetitive. You can do multiple votes on this one. Save and repetitive admin, data insights, customer support, strategies, ideas. And really, if not sure yet, you're in the right spot too. I'll give you a few more seconds for this. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's have a look. And I'll share the results. So you should be able to see on the screen now if you're joining live. Most popular ones at 84 and 82% is creating content and save on repetitive admin tasks. Great. Very closely followed by strategy ideas and data and insights. Customer support is on 39%. And Ben, I'd have a guess that it's only lower because it probably takes the next level of understanding AI to engage it, rather. Is that a good guess?
Yeah, correct. That's a unique thing about AI is the different usage of different people, whether it's searching or whether it's people really getting under the hood and using it for a lot more their day-to-day life and using it as like a virtual assistant or as just
Mm,
like a personal assistant. Um, the, the 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 ways of using it are really endless. So
yeah.
these are some
All
good
right.
ones
I'll
here.
stop sharing that one. Let's kick on.
I think it takes a while for me to get to the next slide when it's there. There we go.
All right. So this is our third and final poll. Then we're going to get into the content. We just want to have an idea of whereabouts there's a lot of you using AI already. which now Ben called this an LLM, large language model. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. Or an AI tool. Forgive the acronyms.
Yes. So I didn't know what an LLM was. So there you go. So we've called it AI tool just in case you're a bit of more new like me. Copilot. Thank you, Elizabeth. Stupid Copilot. Thanks, Kat. That's one we didn't put in here. Copilot is
Yeah,
another
good
option.
call.
Thank you.
Yep, yep.
All right, I'll give you 5 more seconds on this. Um, there's a few people that think similarly about Copilot. Let's share the results. So, of the options we gave you, 57% ChatGPT, followed by Claude, followed by Gemini, 1% Meta, 0 on Grok. That's great. I had no idea until Ben told me about that one. And yes, we missed Copilot on that. Thanks for letting us
Apologies.
know.
Yep.
That's the Microsoft Copilot. So there you go.
I'm
All
a
right,
Mac
Ben,
user. I didn't even think. Forgive me.
because you don't use it. Yeah. All right, let's get into content of how we can use it all.
All right. So, am I right to kick off now, Kate?
Let's go.
All right. Well, probably the most alarming stat that I've seen recently is from a recent Gartner report. By 2028, the brand's organic search traffic will decrease by 50%. Just take that in for a second. It's huge. The amount of traffic through to your website is decreasing right now and will be decreasing even more in that time. That's organic search traffic. That's not paid search traffic from Google. They're going to try and maintain that Google ad spend. But obviously, these days are getting a lot of the data they need out of the results page in these AI tools like Copilot, ChatGPT, even all the Google variants of AI. So it's a very big change right now. I think in our lifetimes, the biggest changes would be probably from a technical point of view, would be search engines, it'd be crypto, and now it's AI. So we're at this kind of fulcrum moment where you really need to rethink everything. It's very challenging because now the data is changing, but if you forecast ahead, it's just going to keep on changing more and more as the usage increases here. I talked earlier about all the acronyms here. Obviously, AI is artificial intelligence. The next three are sort of the three different ways people are talking about this topic: AIO, optimization of artificial intelligence; answer engine optimization, AEO. You also hear it called GEO. Whichever one is going to come out and win, we don't quite know, but there's three different ways to talk about the same thing right now. Large language models, you could also call that the AI tools. Copilot should be in that list, forgive me. And then we've got traditional search engine optimization, which is making sure you're found in the likes of Google, Bing, etc. So the agenda today, we're going to talk about the difference between search engine optimization and answer engine optimization. We're going to look at usage, and then we're going to look at the practical elements of how you guys can optimize your presence for the AI tools. And then how do you measure that? Okay. Further to that, we've got some case studies, a couple of case studies about how we've had success in this space based on what we've done. And then what's next after this? Agents, robotics, etc. The journey doesn't really stop here, but let's just keep it relatively simple today and stay on these topics. Please keep questions until the end. So probably the most fundamental difference that we're seeing in the shift from SEO to AEO is that you'll see there with SEO, so much of this revolves around getting traffic through to your website. That's the whole reason by Google's success. It's getting clicks through to your website, which all the businesses value. With AEO, yes, there's clicks coming through to your website, but these days the AI tools are actually grabbing all that information and serving it up to you. So there's often one step gone. They can get the answers to their questions then and there, as opposed to traipsing through websites. Yes, there's still a case. If I want to get a new swimming pool for my house, I want to go through to the website and I want to compare this, that, and the other and go, right, I want to give these three guys a phone call. There's still a case for search engine. There's still a case for website traffic. There's still a case in the future for Google, but there's also a rising tide with AI because a lot of people want quick, easy answers to questions, to the kind of things they don't need to go to a website for.
And Ben,
In
you and I were talking about that if someone is looking for an answer, instead of putting it into Google and then seeing the results come up, good SEO, search engine optimization, would be your business comes up in a Google search. What you're talking about is how do people put the same thing into ChatGPT, Copilot, or whatever the tool is, and your
Mm,
business is actually coming up in there. So people are finding it because that's where people are searching now. Less on Google, and that's what your first comment, less on Google. Now they're actually looking in these AI tools. So how are you going to get seen?
correct. Yep. And in terms of the usage of these tools, it's listed here. This is, an answer I pulled out of AI. So you've got ChatGPT coming up with a huge amount of usage, Gemini, Claude, etc. Copilot is often native within Microsoft's ecosystem, so it's not listed here. It's almost a bit like the Google AI overview. That data is not showing in this particular slide because you're still within the search engine, but you're accessing AI from within a search engine. So it's a bit of a hybrid model, but this gives you a general idea of usage right now. And different AI tools have slightly different usage. ChatGPT is first to market in a big scale. Gemini is sort of native with Google. Claude is highly technical. So the right LLM is sort of dependent on how you're going to be using it. Um, in terms of the five common uses of AI, we sort of had a look at this before in the quiz that we had up, but customer support and chatbots is huge. Recommendations is what we're going to be talking about today. That's obviously massive. Content creation, we know that graphic designers and content creators, that's one of the first two industries that were disrupted because you can get all that stuff through AI now. Data analysis, automation, etc. But for the purpose of the transactional tasks, let's talk about recommendations and sort of search engines and monetizing all of this. So, in terms of why getting yourself ready for AI, it probably goes without saying. It's sort of common sense, but 45% of people are now searching using AI. It's not instead of Google. In some cases it is, but often it's a bit of a hybrid. So it's not Google's dead. It's like Google's there, and then we have all these other tools as well. There's massive forecasted growth. You'll see on the right-hand side, the sort of projected market size is growing anywhere between 25 to 40% year on year. So these are huge numbers. We saw earlier that up to 50% less organic website traffic by 2028. There's also a change in how people are searching. So previously, if you're going to get turf for your back garden, you type in turf suppliers Sydney. These days, you won't just be typing that into AI. You might be thinking, right, well, I need some turf and I've got a very shady backyard and I've got a dog. So the kind of query we're seeing these days is long tail, it's conversational, it's question based. And it's having the large language models go and scrape the site for something a bit more specific than just turf, which would give a very broad answer. The AI tools are giving better answers. It's also generative as well. So it understands when I log in that I run a digital marketing agency and I've had these tasks in the past. So it'll personalize the answers to give me better instructions, which is really useful as well. Um, Also, early adopters benefit the most. So I think the poll said earlier there's sort of 75% of people already using AI. You guys are the ones that are going to be most benefiting from this. It's like the people who jump from Yellow Pages, where I used to work years ago, Yellow
Yeah.
Pages ads to Google first.
Yep.
They're the ones who embraced it fastest and got the benefit of a kind of a quiet competitive landscape. This is the time to be doing it. And then finally, cost is a factor. Like to get equitable amounts of search traffic out of, say, Google Ads, you might be needing to spend 5, 10, 20K a month. Right now, this doesn't cost you anything. It's just your time. Okay. ChatGPT and these other ones, Google will be bringing in and are currently bringing in monetization of this through ads. But at this stage, it's sort of a free marketplace. So get in there while you can and set up your ecosystem for the future before, you might have to pay in some of these platforms. Right. Now, what have you got to do to optimize yourself? This is what we're here for today. It's the tricks and tips of making sure that you're found. As I've already said, that we're going towards more long tail search queries. We're going towards sort of a changed way in people search. So what I'm going to try and get you guys to do is to get all that information out of your head and onto your website, right? You guys need to have what they call topical authority. You need to be the subject matter expert. You need to flesh out your website from 10 pages to 100 pages with all this information so that you are the subject matter expert on all things to do with your product or service. To further plan on what you need to content you need to create, there's data behind all of this. So you should be trying to take down what people are asking on the phone, the common questions that your receptionist is getting asked. If you've got any tools like SEMrush or Ahrefs, you can have a look about your industry. So plantation shutters, what are people asking about plantation shutters? Google's got a free tool called Search Console. You can get data there about what people are asking about your business and industry. Google Ads has got a free keyword planner, which just has more data. And then there's even data you can get out of your website. If you've got like a little search query box, you can download that information. So what we'll get out of this is a whole bunch of data around what do I need to write about in my industry and make my website this, this huge platform from which the AI tools can come and grab that data.
And
So
therefore, you become the one that gets recommended in their search. You're the one that has the link that they then click and get more information.
exactly. So subject matter export, we need to get all that information out of your head onto your website logically and according to sort of what people are searching for. So, I mean, the example here is an electrician that we're working with. These guys, they're Sparkies, but the website has got 336 pages. You can see on the very right of this slide. So these guys have got different pages for all the products and services they've got pages for, the service area that they do. Do you offer this? Can you replace that? What level qualification do you need for X, Y, and Z? So these guys are like a real they've got topical authority, the authority on this topic. Thank you, Kate. And so I'd encourage you guys to expand on the content in your current website pages, and then build out more pages for the various things you offer. Really open it up as much as possible with useful content. Now, in terms of some of the hacks, I guess you'd call it, or some of the ways to sort of turbocharge this, is sort of AI specific content. So you can see in the bullet points in the bottom left, you've got things like listicles. That's really topical right now. Everyone's talking about listicles to make sure you might have a page which talks about the top 5 skin products for eczema, or the top 10 things to look for in a digital marketing agency, or the top 5 things to consider when buying X. Have that content in your site and be that reference point. Comparisons, we've got a software company who's got a major competitor, and there's an article on there of them versus the competitor. Write that article, talk about the differences, have tables on there about showing what you do versus what they do. Deal breakers, does product X do this? Pretty self-explanatory. Conditional questions, we talked about that earlier on, like best turf if I have a dog or a shady backyard. Talk about that. This kind of things people are asking. And then antonyms, so sort of the negative effects or negative elements related to your product or service, like common side effects, or what are the issues, or does this work, et cetera, et cetera. So those are really useful types of content in addition to your regular website content. Then sort of going on from that, Kate, slow me down at any point if I'm rambling too much. I like talking about this topic, but frequently asked questions is also one of the biggest content types to take advantage of AIO. So having a page or multiple pages on your site talking about your product or service is super helpful. We already know that the large language models involve people asking more questions. It's not all questions, but it's a lot more, hence the name answer engine optimization. So let's create the answers, to these questions. So making sure that is found on your website. Don't go on too much about yourself. You're probably more trying to capture questions about the product or service. You can see this plumber on the right-hand side. Some things relevant to themselves and other things relevant to their particular industry. The question at the bottom left we get asked almost every day, what about AI written content? if if you're looking at this presentation, you're like, right, well, I'll just go into AI after this and slap up 100 new pages of content, and my work is done. So that is not going to help in Google's eyes, because if you've gone and slapped up a a page of content about a drink bottle and said, write me 500 words about that, then there's probably 20 other competitors who've done the same thing, and there's just this AI slop content out there, which the AI tools are not going to reward. The flip side of that is writing 100 pages yourself, which is going to be very, very time consuming. If you've got the time and energy, or you've got a copywriter in-house or somebody in charge of that, by all means do it. That's the ultimate. We're realistic here and know that not all businesses have that, particularly some of the small businesses. So generally speaking, what we see a lot of, which works quite successfully, is a bit of a hybrid. So getting the bones of an article together yourself, through yourself or your marketing team, fleshing it out with AI, but making sure the final product is it's genuine, it's thought out, it involves content which has come from your heads, and it's not just the same as everybody else. Um, Google and the AI tools sort of see through this, and they want original content. Um, just going to show a quick video, very quick video of a customer that we work with. They're an e-commerce customer, and they do it's like safety products. They've got a driveway ramp, which is one of their main products. It ranks extremely well in the AI tools. I checked in Google in the just the general section, the AI overview earlier. It was showing earlier today. But if I could just hit the play button here, you can see within this page, it's got all the elements that anyone could possibly want, and everything which the AI tools and also the search engines would want. It's got all this content. It's got reviews. It's got imagery, etc. It's a little bit hard to see, but you can see the top here. It's got frequently asked questions, product specifications, descriptions, fact sheets, etc. It's really the absolute subject matter expert on anything to do with driveway ramps, and as a result, it ranks well in ChatGPT. It ranks well in the Google AI overview, and as a result, they get traffic for this product. Going a little bit more technical now, and I'll sort of apologize, sorry, not sorry. It's important to have a nice, clean architecture of your website so that all the content is found within a few clicks, like 3 clicks. So make sure this is all well thought out, categorized well, and use images, diagrams, videos, etc. But at the end of the day, the AI tools and the search engines are really looking for text. So prioritize that text. It's HTML. It means those LLMs and search engines can find that data.
Now, Ben, just a quick time check. We've got about 10 minutes of content before we get into our Q&A.
Okay. All right. I'll try and squeeze it in. Forgive me for going too fast.
You love the
And
topic. I know you love it.
another element is what they call product schema. This is probably something more to throw at your web developer. It's a way to categorize your data in Google's eyes and the eyes of the AI tools to help sort of yell out and say, hey, rank me for this particular question or for this particular product. There's a whole list found in these links, but the bottom right shows that our own website has got all these schemas built in, and as a result, we get a lot of website traffic. The top right shows some of these questions in Google or in AI, and you increase your chances of coming up if you've got those FAQs and you've got the schema behind that. Write that down. If you've got a developer, write that down and say, hey, do we have schema running? Do we have FAQ schema running? It's a very simple one for today. Website speed, common sense, really. The AI tools don't want to send any traffic to slow, sloppy websites. Make sure your website is fast, in particular focus on mobile because so much traffic is there. There's a free tool here, Page Speed Insights, which allows you to throw your website in there and get that to get that speed and act on that. If it's under about a 50 or a 40, you need to get work done to make it faster. Now, you probably will have heard today, I have talked a bit about Google as well. There's a lot of elements in AI optimization which are the same as search engine optimization. So if all things being equal, you and your competitor have the same amount of content, the same amount of FAQs, the same amount of schema, the same amount of site speed, the LLMs are going to be looking at all of your other elements of your website presence. Google calls this EEAT, expertise, experience, authority, and trust. So expertise is making sure you have a lot of content, which is spoken about. Experience, if you've been around for a long time, it generally tends to help in their eyes. Authority, if you've got backlinks from other websites, that also helps a lot. And then trust signals like reviews, etc., also show the internet that you're the one that should be served up in these sort of AI mentions.
And Ben, we were chatting about that. Like, it's not by chance you have 173 five-star reviews. Like, there's actually a process that you go about asking people for reviews because no one just goes, "Oh, I'd like to leave a review." So,
Ex-
business owners, people want to leave you reviews, but probably no one's going to do it unless you ask or have a process for it.
a
And it's really
process,
good for your searching.
exactly. Um, Measurability, this is all good and well, but how do you actually know what the outcome is of all this work that you've done? So top right is a snapshot from Google Analytics, a free tool of Google. Everyone should have it. You can segment the data in there to see how much traffic has come from ChatGPT. In this instance, I think it's about 1247 sessions have come, and the trend you can see there is growing. You can also see what revenue on the far right column is coming from ChatGPT. And just remember, don't just think about this data now, but think about this in 5 years when it's compounded at about 35% growth on year. Think about the data, what it's going to be like then. Uh, there's new metrics which are surfacing with AI because, as I've said, not all the traffic goes through to your website. There's mentions of you. So this new term mention, you were mentioned in that little snippet of information. You had a link presence. It's not tracking the click necessarily, but you are shown this amount of times. So you can see at the very bottom of the page, there's the brand we're working with, Select Windows. For the first one, the AI overview, they were mentioned 253 times in the last 30 days, and their link was shown 217 times. For us to see the traffic which came through and the amount of conversions, we can go through to analytics for that. But there's these new metrics which are really sort of showing how visible you are there. You can dissect the data a lot of different ways by trends and queries, etc. But they're the sort of the main ones to be looking at. Just a couple of case studies. Kate, we're good for time?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, so this is a marine training school. They do a lot of boat licenses, commercial boat licenses. They're based in Newport in the Northern Beaches. So in terms of how we've sort of collaborated with these guys, they've got a fantastic developer who does a lot of this work as well. In collaboration with us, they've got a very content heavy site. They've got pages for all their different courses and the services they offer. There's a nice clear website hierarchy. So the crawlers which come through and come and grab this data can easily find it. And then in the bottom center, the little snapshot there shows some of their frequently asked questions. That's got the matching schema behind it. And it's also got those EEAT signals there as well. We've got trust signals of all those Google reviews, and we've also got sort of authority from some of the industry bodies that they are sort of registered with. Um, so these guys are being found extremely well. If you go and type in where can I get a commercial boat license on the right-hand side, you'll see ChatGPT showing them up there as a couple of times in the results there. If you go to Google AI overview, this is all done yesterday, I think. You can see they're coming up first in the recommendations. And coming back to those new metrics I mentioned, if we just stay on the right-hand side for a moment, the bottom where the C school is highlighted, that's a mention. Okay. The button underneath that is the link. So these are the things which are really important to track in this kind of changing landscape where it's different to typical SEO data. In terms of how this is translating to traffic, we can see in this period there's 726 sessions. We can also further segment that by how many phone calls, courses, etc. And then at the bottom center of the page, you can actually see this at keyword level or prompt level. So how the little blue icon which has been hovered over there shows that yes, they are appearing in that search. So there is a lot of data to see where you're appearing, where you're not appearing, where there's areas of opportunity. But these guys are showing very well. One element I didn't mention earlier in the technical part is, and again, it's very technical, it's a web developer element, is your robots.txt file and your LLMS file. If anybody's not technical on the call, forgive this section, but all websites by default will have a robots.txt file which says to the search engines, come through and index me, or don't index me, maybe you're a bank. So by default, the search engines, your robots.txt file will allow LLMs to come through unless you actively disallow them. So from a technical standpoint, your default setup will be fine. There's also a new LLMS TXT file which is coming about. Bit of conjecture. It's a real sort of moving industry, this one right now. Um, just keep that in mind for later on whether we're going to need these LLMS files. Not necessary for the time being, but it could be something technical which may help in the future. Um, Another case study is a Manuka Honey customer that we work with. These guys are e-commerce. They're based up in northern New South Wales. I saw them over Easter time. They're an amazing business. They've got as you see in the top right highlighted, they've got a big website. They've got 1,610 index pages at Google. So we talk about topical authority. Matt and the team here, these guys are the subject matter experts on everything to do in Manuka Honey. And Matt has got this all out of his incredible brain and onto the website. So it's a massive repository of data on anything to do with Manuka Honey. Like I said, content-heavy website. Their FAQ page has got 67 questions and answers you can see on the right-hand side, which helps them being found by the LLMs. They've got the accompanying schema, which you can see on the bottom left-hand side from the schema tester tool. And then they've got the other SEO elements of expertise, experience, authority, and trust with backlinks, with reviews, with product reviews, etc. Some of the things that we've done to strategize for this particular account is tactical content. We talked before about these listicles and comparisons and antonyms and so on. So we've used their search console to delve deeper into the usage of Manuka honey to do with the benefits of it. Pets, there's pet applications, gut health, diabetes. There's also mentions, there's a lot of mention of honey in the Bible and the Quran. So we've sort of fleshed out content here. There's also, for this one, there's conjecture about is Manuka honey Aussie or a Kiwi product? Fascinating stuff. But the data here we've found in Search Console has enabled us to write so much extra content in terms of blogs, in terms of comparisons, etc., which has benefited them. And what we've done is we've used like a who, what, where, custom filter in his console to work out what are the things people are asking and go, right, well, that topic's done really well. But what about this topic, which is related? Again, all this is translated to, usage sessions, data, revenue, etc. You see in the top right, there's a high volume of mentions and also those link presence that we spoke about earlier. And you can see in the bottom right, you can see that, yes, they're appearing for Best Manuka Honey and all these other terms as well. The far right column on the bottom is actually their Google page ranking, but we know that they're showing in Google and they're being found in the AI overviews. I think we're going well for time. Just to talk about what's next in AI and AI optimization. So, I mean, the elephant in the room is Google. So what are they going to do? They're planning themselves to make sure they're not superseded, right? So they've got the AI overview here. They've got AI mode still kind of within their framework. They've got Gemini as well for all the practical applications of AI. So they're going to keep on moving with the times to stay up to speed with with ChatGPT, with Claude, with Copilot, etc. Beyond this as well is AI agents. So probably not something to talk about today, but AI agent is basically configuring one of these AIs to go and be like your personal assistant and go do tasks for you. So scripting things up and say, hey, go and find X, Y, and Z. Go and book me a holiday here. What's the best itinerary for us to go to Cairns and back with two young kids? And I want a four-star hotel or whatever it is. So that will be something on your roadmap as well. Voice agents, I think in our generation, we're going to start seeing a lot or hearing a lot more people calling up using voice agents, which is going to probably be difficult for the Philippines, which runs on, call centers. There's also like society factors and ethical factors in all this AI. The future of our kids and what jobs they're going to be doing. It's kind of radical times. So that's one element which comes up quite a lot. And then what I think is probably the final frontier is combining robotics and AI, whether you're working in a farm or a cafe or anything like once all that can be combined, then the sky's the limit, which kind of brings in those ethical factors as well. But there's a lot ahead of us, you know, but for the immediate time right now, it's making sure you get yourself ready in that transition from the Google website traffic to this AI traffic and making sure you're future-proofing your business for this massive change in usage of the internet. I think we've got a poll now, Kate. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. And I think I might have left the other one up there. Sorry about that. This is our fourth poll. What are you going to action from today's session? So we've seen lots of questions coming through. We'll get to those in a moment. What I'd love to see, you can do multiple choice here, is what do you want to take from today? I'll give you a moment to read and answer those. And remember the website, the webinar chat, it's really hard for me to capture the questions amongst everything. So make sure you're finding that Q&A box and putting your answers in that. All right, 5 more seconds. All right. And let's have a look at that. I know people are still voting, but we've still got lots to do in this last 15 minutes of the call. So let's share the results there. The biggest thing people are going to take is add or expand FAQs on key pages. I think that's it. Actually, yeah, big thumbs up from Ben. That's 70%. 56% use Google Search Console to see real search queries. We've got a few questions about that, Ben, so I'm going to ask you some more in a moment. The next one was 36% was about creating clearer comparison or best for content and checking and improve trust signals. And then at 26% improve page speed. So amazing. Lots of things people are taking immediately from today, which is amazing. Write that down because that's what we're going to be taking from this. I'm going to start getting through our Q&A now. Ben, if you could just pop onto the next slide and I'll tell you what you can expect. Oh, takeaway tools, and then we'll get into our Q&A.
Okay. So takeaway tools, hopefully you've got something out of today. But if there's one thing, it's content, clear, helpful content that answers real questions. Page load time, technical elements, you want to lean on your web developer for things like schema, etc. Trust signals, reviews, all these things to satisfy EEAT of Google. Technical checklist, as we spoke about, schema, speed, website hierarchy. And then just keep your SEO going with other tasks for building authority, backlinks, etc. Because all things being equal, it's still going to reward the website which has got the best domain authority and domain trust based on that. I don't think we're going to go through the takeaway tools one by one, are we, Kate?
Oh, I'd just say take a photo of this or a screenshot, and this is where you can go and delve into getting some more information. And as I said, you will be getting a recording of these on Friday. If it doesn't come into your email, have a look in your junk. That's where mine was sitting. So I've had to make it safe for mine so they all come into my inbox. But take a photo of this. Now, the questions are coming in thick and fast. Let's get into them. While we're getting started on that, Ben, could you pop on the next slide and there's two things. You can give some feedback. We'll leave this up for a moment. And then in about 5 minutes, I'll pop up the link to sign up for next week's session as well. All right. While people are doing feedback, let's get into some Q&A because there's no way we're going to answer them. I'll see how many we can join together to answer as much as we can. Okay, this question came in from Karen right at the very beginning, and I think it's an excellent question. She says, oh, she, he, they, sorry, should not presume. Is it still worth investing in developing a good website when 50% less website traffic is expected by 2028?
Yes, absolutely, because the content which the AI tools are going to be serving up is still from your website. So it's almost more important to maintain a high quality, high content website to have that information being read by the tools. I know the traffic might not be going there, but to give yourself the best chance of showing up in those AI answers, yes, you need to have that content there.
Now, I'm just trying to find where the question was, but there was a question from somebody who actually doesn't have a website. They were asking about Linktree, which is a page that you can have, for example, on your Instagram where you send people to purchase or different links on that. If they don't have a website, is it really hard to get into um, these AI tools?
Without a website.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely harder if you don't have a website. And also, if you're putting your content in something which you don't have actual control of, then that means you're at the mercy of that. If you're trying to get a reputation through Reddit and that page all of a sudden is decommissioned and what have you, then it's outside of your control. So, yes, it is possible, but you're going to give yourself a much greater
Mm,
chance by having your own website, which you control. There's so many free website tools out there these days. There's even, one of our customers played around and built their own website through vibe coding, where he basically just spoke to his AI agent and it built it for him. So um, there's so many ways to do it, including free websites. I would be recommending starting that. It's almost close to free models. Fast way to get yourself found.
great. There were a few questions about is there a platform you recommend over another one, whether it's WordPress, Squarespace, Wix, Shopify? Is there a preference on the platform or is it about the content?
It's about the content. They're
Okay.
CMS agnostic. I think it's fair to say WordPress has got to where they are because all the plugins and the community makes more things possible. From an e-commerce perspective, Shopify seems to have that wrapped up, but it does not matter which CMS you've got. Make sure that you can do everything that was spoken about today and make sure it's fast, but the CMS should not have an impact. No.
Great. Now, there's quite a few questions about when you were showing the metrics, how you find that. A couple of specific ones was around, can you tell which content lead to generating revenue versus increasing visibility, impressions versus conversions?
Say that question again.
Oh, hold on. I just moved it to answered.
The
Hold on, hold on.
content. Yeah.
Can you tell which content um, is leading to generating revenue versus which content is leading to increasing visibility on your metrics through AI?
Uh, Good question. I think you could do secondary dimension breakdown in Google Analytics and go, right, well, that content resonates with that page. So in analytics, if you've got the session source being ChatGPT, secondary dimension that and filter it to that page, you'd be able to see whether that page is leading to revenue or not. So it can be found, but it requires some multi-level digging. So that was to do with the first part of that question, which was about content, was it?
Mm. So if you're looking at the metrics, and remember at the bottom you had different like search engines.
Mentions. Yep. Uh,
Uh,
At this stage, the LLMs are not providing any reporting themselves because it's a free tool about um, what content powered that. But you can go into analytics or the SEO tools. That question is coming from somebody quite savvy here. So I imagine they've got some of those tools. And yes, you'd be able to reverse engineer back to which of those pages is resulting in those mentions and link presence. There's a snapshot I was going to put into this presentation today, which shows that. I can definitely show that, but that would require one of the SEO tools. We can do that.
Okay, great. Just back on a question we had about Linktree. As a secondary to that, does social media come up, or is it really coming from that website heavy content?
Um, that's a great question. I think it'll be taking in the entire ecosystem. It will be indexing social. I have not seen, in my own experience, really many mentions or link presence
Mm,
coming from that. So I'm not going to provide the perfect answer there. I'd check that later and come back to you.
okay.
I would instinctively think if it's native to your website, it's going to be more powerful than if it's on essentially someone else's website, like a social media platform.
Which you don't have the same control over. And that's what you were saying. Like the website is where you have control. There's not many things you can control or own in this space. So a website
Cor-
is something that you can.
Correct. But if you've got an Instagram page with 50K followers and a Facebook page with 30K followers, that's an
That
authority. It's a trust
tick,
signal
tick, tick.
in those eyes. I'm not sure if like a post, a high volume post will do as much as that, but if you've got a powerful social presence, yes, it will.
Hmm. Okay, great. And next questions. There was a few questions about the tool to check the site speed, recordings of the webinar. Yes, you'll get that on Friday, and in the recordings, we'll have all those tools. Um,
Yep.
questions also about YouTube videos. Is that linking through?
The transcriptions of the of
So
the of
make
the
sure you transcribe.
Yeah, you've got to have the transcriptions turned on because everything comes back to HTML. What is HTML?
Mm,
If you go out on a website page and you put your cursor and you try and highlight something and you can highlight it, it's HTML text. If you grab it and it's an image and it just slides around the page, it's not readable. It's same with the video. So with YouTube, you've got to have your transcriptions on. And
good
yes,
tip.
that definitely helps. But again, YouTube is in a third-party platform. If you've got that YouTube in your own website with transcriptions on, that's great. And that's a great thing to bring up as well, because if you've got a lot of video content, you're creating a lot of word count and topical authority very fast. So that's another great one. I think I had vlog somewhere earlier.
Mm.
Or maybe I didn't. Maybe it was in a previous iteration, but vlogs are fantastic and videos. Yeah.
Great. All right, this one comes from Craig. He says, what challenges do you see for a business that has products that people can buy from lots of vendors to improve theirs showing up in AI queries?
I think that question sort of answered, we're talking about e-commerce here, is answered by that example I gave earlier from eSafety
Mm,
Supplies Driver Ramp. If you just got an absolute gamut of content about your product, its usage, reviews, etc., again, being that subject matter expert, you increase the chances of yourselves being found.
hmm
Um, One important part I intentionally didn't add to this is that the LLMs are playing with the ability to buy things directly in ChatGPT. There was something about 4 or 5 months ago. So I think it's important to sign up to these journals like Search Engine Roundtable and AI newsletters and so on, because this is just the start, people. But they're planning on you being able to buy directly in ChatGPT. So want to go and buy a scented candle, the example was, go to scented candle, search for that, and they had a partnership with Stripe and Shopify such that you could just go and check out within ChatGPT. You could go and buy that candle there. No need to go to the website. All that data's already scraped in. Um, Stripe, yes, and then Stripe
Yes.
enables it to checkout. So as we go into the future, it may be that some of these online transactions, e-commerce, can actually be done without even going to your website, in a way to probably kind of push Amazon out to some degree.
Mm, very interesting. It's sort of changing how we're thinking about it. And if you're
Yeah.
starting to panic everybody, this has always been the case. There's with every new bit of technology. I remember it was all about faxes and about phone calls, and then when email came in, people worried about that. There's always the next thing, and being the fact that you are in this call and you are learning about it means you will learn as you go along. There's always going to be the next thing, and the only thing you can do is just keep yourself across it because it just changes quickly. And that's just how it's going to be. The only constant is change.
That's all right. Yeah.
All right. Question from Paul. Do you recommend any AI search tracking tools?
We're using search engine ranking. We found that's
Mhm.
the most affordable tool, which has got a great focus on AI, a lot of data available, a lot of APIs, so it can work with other platforms, great reporting. So SE ranking is what we're using. The biggest ones would be, um, all of the big SEO tools, seen the writing on the wall. They've all got an AI element to it. So SEMrush is probably the biggest in this space, but most expensive. Um, but yeah, we're using SE ranking, which is considerably cheaper and does as much, if not more, in my opinion.
Great. Now, Ben, can I get you to pop onto the next slide just of what's coming up next so people can sign up to the next one while I answer the last couple of questions? So, next week, I'm back here hosting strategic networking, and in 2 weeks' time, about doing video content. If today's session you're starting to freak out about the ethical side of this and how can you use AI in your business and how that all works, that's going to be on the 19th of May. Um, and then negotiation habits later in May. So we've still got 6, 7 more sessions in this series. There's lots more coming up. Cynthia's doing a great job popping those links in. So sign up for those while we're finishing answering those questions. Question from Ali. As a brand designer, when working on websites for my clients, would it be more important now for them to focus on AIO, AEO over SEO?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's really both because there's a lot of commonalities in the strategy. I think if you had to choose one or the other, it's a tough question. Look, depends how urgent things are. If you're planning for the future, it would be AIO. But as we saw on that slide about expertise, experience, authority, and trust, I'm going to say that 60 or 70% of the SEO elements remain important for AIO. So it's not one or the other. It's both, but get the foundations right and then work on those hacks, listicles, comparisons, schema, um, you know, vlogs, all this kind of thing to just be the absolute subject matter expert through this just massive repository of content. So yes is the short answer to AIO, but there's commonalities to both.
All right. Um, I'm going to choose one last question. So many still to choose from. It's a very hot topic. Um, Final question. Oh, the pressure. Um, okay. This one has popped up a couple of times, and it is about being at the beginning. If you're a startup or you're going through a rebranding, repositioning, and you've never had a website,
Yep.
how would you be able to maximize your search without historical data?
Well, ironically here, you can go in and ask AI these questions. So um, without historical data, you can use some of those tools I referenced, I think on page 5 or page 6, like search engine rankings or Google Ads Keyword Planner. You don't need a website for that. So you can use those tools. But if you don't know where to start a conversation with AI and say, "Hey, I'm setting up a business selling water bottles. What do I need to be successful?" And then multi-level questioning on the back of that. Oh, which kind of bottles? All right. What's your point of difference? All right. What colors and sizes and so on does it come in? And you'll slowly get a hierarchy of what needs to be built on your website, which you can then hand to a developer, or you can even go to one of the easier ones like Wix or Squarespace and do it yourself. So to answer that, it'd be twofold: to use AI yourself and then use some of the free tools out there which don't require the existence of a website yet.
Great tip, Ben. And if you're thinking, well, I don't even know how to search that, click on one of the link that admin has just shared about last week's webinar. Watch last week's because we were talking exactly about how to use, like, just the 101 of how to use AI in your business. So, and for all those questions we didn't get to, grab your question, type it into AI, and perhaps that can help you because we didn't get to them all. But such an interesting topic, Ben. A lot of very engaged listeners today. Thank you so much for giving your time and your passion to this topic. As you can see, we had some feedback. We'd love to know what you've liked about this session. Last year, people really wanted SEO, so we did an SEO session. And then this year, people were like, oh, we really need AI. So we put those two things together and we've got Ben on for our session today. Um, Please join up for next week and the future weeks. I'd love to see you back again. And feel free to share the links with your colleagues because the more people you're actually having these conversations with, the better you can put it into your business. And the better we can all be learning on this journey together. So thank you so much, Ben. And I look forward to seeing everyone again next week. Same time, same place.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
Cheers, guys.